Hey everybody, I'm Jordan with PDQ.com. Today we're going to talk about uninstalling software. In a perfect world, our users wouldn't install anything, or everything we installed would be good forever. But occasionally, it just comes time you got to remove some things. So I guess we'll just kind of go into a couple options we have where we can kind of automate or make removing software a bit more dynamic and a bit easier to do. All right. So the first thing that we'll go over, and let me make sure I've scanned this one before I go too much further. Scan the applications there. It's a feature that we kind of go over a lot in this one and is built into PDQ inventory, where if you come to your applications, you can right click on something, Webex, we'll say do uninstall, and it's going to come up here with your uninstall string. If it is an MSI, then we're going to add things like the quiet and the no restart automatically. If it's an EXE, unless they include that in their uninstall string in the registry, we're not going to have that either, so you're probably still going to have to do some research. But this has some value where it's just right there, right click, you got it, you have a command where you can run, and you can instantly send that out to that machine, or if you want more machines, you can send it out to just every machine. Where we can run into some issues with this one is, as you see here, the file, was that I want to say hash, but that doesn't seem right.
GUID.
Correct me, Kobe. The GUID, there we go. The GUID, I knew that. The GUID's not always going to be the same, so if we send it out for that version of Webex, it's going to remove it if that one exists, but if they have a different version and the GUID is different, that's not necessarily going to work. So while this tool is handy for finding a specific bit of software, it's hard to scale just because you have different GUIDs if it's MSI, or if you have something like KeyPass, it's going to have, that puts the version at the end of it, so removing one's not necessarily going to remove all of them. So there's just a few things where it is handy. I love that and use it, but it's not always
not near as dynamic enough.
Not a catch-all. So what I did, and I borrowed heavily from a script written by Renzo, who works here. He wrote one basically where we're going to go through, we're going to find software on the machine. And so instead of saying this GUID or this version of software, we're giving it a name and saying, hey, go check the machine and see if this one installs. And then, just like in the other one, we have to supply the silent parameters. But in the registry, we got two locations. We got the 64-bit, which is Microsoft Windows current version, and the 32-bit, which is under the WoW 6432 node. If you are on a 32-bit machine, that second one is not going to exist, so you probably just want to come in here and comment that one out. If you deploy this one, it's still going to work, but it will throw back an error saying that registry doesn't exist. While not breaking, why have there if you don't want it? So you just want to remove that one. And then the last one, we're looking in the current users here, HK current users. I don't use that one all the time. We'll kind of go into that one a bit later, but that's just basically, that registry is going to let you know if the software is there and has an uninstall. The fourth one is Apex. It doesn't really show up in either one, but we've covered removing Apex quite a bit here. We'll go into a little bit in a later version as well. All right, so next we're just building an array of these custom objects where we are selecting the name, MOBA xterm, and then our silent uninstall parameters. And if you're looking at that, you might say, this looks like 3 random pieces of software Jordan wanted off his machine that he ran for his test case. And you don't know me. All right, it's true. It's true. And
you don't want to know it, really.
Kelly had, unfortunately, this week access to my unfiltered train of thought, and he has not recovered.
Entertaining.
And then you see here for the key password safe, I just put an asterisk at the end. So basically, if they have multiple versions, it's going to find all of them. All right, and then we're coming down here. We're building our search list. As you can see, I put our 32 and 64. If they were looking for individual user ones, you'd want to add that one as well, and you'd want to remove the 32-bit if it was a 32-bit machine, but this just defines where it's going to search in there. All right, and then the last part is we come in here, we're basically doing a where object, so if the display name matches what we have listed, we're going to join that together to make an OR switch, and it's going to go through and it's going to find the programs that it did find. So before we get to the uninstall, we're actually going to make this into a scanner, and it will just report back the software that it did find. A bit more than we were looking for initially, but it's still going to report back what we're looking for. So copy that one. And really we're doing this so once again I can build a new PowerShell scanner that I don't point it to a file. All right, so PS app to remove. All right, I guess while I'm doing this, do we have any questions, or should I just keep running? Let's take a look.
Dear Jordan, do you have any specific recommendations for uninstalling Autodesk products? Their built-in scripts never work, and I've struggled getting PDQ to do it as well. Since they're getting rid of the Uninstall tool in next year's release, it's going to be even tougher. Thanks, Danny G.
So the way I would approach that is the same way we're kind of going in the script, is I would find the uninstall string in the registry, and then try to find, I know you said the silent parameters don't always work, but try to find the parameters that I do have that work with it. If it's MSI, it's /QN. And then you could try sending that string to a single machine. And then if that doesn't work, just try tweaking it on that single machine until you remove it. Once it works for that one machine, it should be able to send that uninstall string across the board.
I would just add this. If that doesn't work, the format /s. No, just kidding. But yeah, it's tough. Again, and I know Autodesk does send scripts, uninstall scripts, so it's probably a good idea to dig into those a little bit and see what they're doing also.
Yes, so they're doing. There's probably a kernel of truth in there. It's finding the silent strings isn't always easy. With Autodesk, if they're built in or have that much of a problem, there probably is somewhere out there where you can find a better version. You just might have to build your own customized one from that. But without actually having one to test on, I can give you the process I would follow to find it.
To guess on that one too, based on what their uninstall scripts look like, which was just kind of like a batch file that ran a bunch of MSI uninstalls, I would take that and try and tweak it and see if you can get each component to remove. Since there's, 11 billion different Autodesk components for each thing that you install, you may just need to go through and find all of the uninstall strings for those too, which I think that's what their built-in script was doing. So just dissect it and use what works.
Yeah, software that uninstall doesn't remove all of the hooks. That drives me nuts. That'll make for an angry Jordan.
And angry a lot of people.
Yeah. All right, so as you can see here, I did build that as a scanner and ran it, and this one has two versions of KeyPass, Meld and Mobile Xterm. It's almost like this is a lab machine that I set up as an example for the script.
Never.
No. So I guess we're go back to the script, and I feel bad for the Autodesk. I wish we had a definitive, but it's just one of those. We have a couple that we get questions on all the time, and we just have to dive in. And
it's interesting because we've all been in that position before, where it's like you just get so frustrated trying to get rid of something. I mean, back in the day, it was getting rid of Java off machines, and the research Shane and I had to do way back in the day to make those alternate Java removal packages.
Yeah, it can get pretty dicey. So yeah, unfortunately, this one won't be a catch-all, but I think it will at least give you a good base on how to get to the next steps. Which, for the next steps, are kind of doing a for each within a for each. I'm basically taking, these are my search results, and basically if the search results matches what I have in the array that I built, then it can add the silent parameter to the end of the uninstall string. And another important part here is sometimes in the uninstall string that they put in there, they don't change it from /I, which is install, to /X. Because why would you? Why would you want the uninstall string in your uninstall string? So this will go through and it basically does a search that says, if it's still /I, replace that with a /X. And then it will complete building the string completely where it has the full uninstall string. I guess I could have done it a different way and just said basically if it is MSI, run the replace, and then if there's something to replace, it would, and if not, it wouldn't. That's just kind of, I guess, pick which one you want on that one. This one's written for you, so probably easier. Okay, let me just get to the next part where I'm scanning, and we'll dive into that one. All right, so after that, we have all of our results. We have our pre-built strings, and so we're just going to print out the information that we have, that we're gathering here. The registry path, which is this is where it's installed. This is where how you do the uninstall. This is the name of the program, and this is your uninstall string. And then right here on line 41, don't want to put a space in the variable. That's going to break it all. That's where we're actually building the process. We're just running command with /C, which is basically run this, then exit. And then we're putting through our uninstall string with the wait and the pass-through. And then after this is all just basically clean up, like if it comes back with error code 0, that means it was successful, and we'll move on to the next part. If none of your programs exist or are installed in that one, we'll come back and tell you. One thing, we put error code 0 in there as the default. If you know you have another success for uninstall error code, you're going to want to come into where it says not equals and add an and statement or statement, I apologize, or. So it's not either 0 or whatever the other return code is. That way you're not going to get a false thing where it says it didn't uninstall. Although I think there's more codes for install, I think uninstall is pretty consistently 0, unless I'm taking the crazy pills.
I think we'll roll with the crazy pills. No, I think it's 0 too. The return code's 0 for most of those.
Okay. All right, now that we have this, we have the PowerShell script. We're just going to build this into a package. I guess we'll do that one. New package. We're going to name it, remove the crap.
You named it what?
Remove the crap.
Oh,
we don't need
how
that.
appropriate.
We don't need that. I'm assuming if we're doing the removal, then they don't need it. And if they do need it, they're wrong, and they should come to us, and we can tell them why they don't.
I like that. I like that method.
All right, and then we're just going to point that to the PowerShell script. And on this one, it's just running as the default scan profile, so it is only looking at software that is machine-based installed for now. I'm going to deploy this once to Allen rails, since it conveniently had all of the software we're looking at. Boy, that was just a bit of luck.
A bit of luck that would happen.
So meld takes a little bit of time to remove, so I guess while we're waiting, do we have another question?
Dear Jordan, please describe uninstalling user-level installed applications, those not installed in the system. Sincerely, Marcel L.
Okay. This one we'll definitely be diving into more later. You have two options. You have the current user registry key, but that will only work if they are actively logged on, not loaded. Or there is a method where you can go in and you grab all of the user hives and you load those individually and do the remove. I am going to go over that. Full disclosure, Chris wrote that, and he is way smarter than I am. It's one of those, it was specifically pointed to Firefox. We'll kind of go over all of it, but it's one of those you could modify that to run for another machine, but you just want to make real sure you're getting that one accurate, because he has things in there where he also goes through and cleans up the hooks that are left behind. But
so the other thing, I was under the opinion, anytime you start messing with user hives, there is a chance you could possibly corrupt those.
Yes, it is a high risk thing. So current user, you can use our product where you can deploy as the logged on user, look into the current user hive, and it will uninstall for that one. And that will work for things like Microsoft Teams, which actually will cover that one. Not for AppX, because AppX is kind of its own beast. It doesn't install any of those locations. So as you come to the box now, we don't have MOBA Xterm or KeyPass, so I did remove the 4 pieces of software that we had there. Like I said, it works. Unfortunately, you still have to find the silent parameters. It would be nice if that was something that's uniform, but it's just not. I don't see that it ever will be.
Vendor specific, yeah. I mean, whatever they felt that day they wrote the software, huh?
Yeah, I mean, the whims of whoever built it, their mood that day. So I guess in answer to the question, we'll dive into Chris's script now, and this one it's in our package library. If this one's for Firefox specifically, user 1, and all the same disclaimers. If you're loading the user hive, there's risk that comes with that. There's no way around that risk. You can be as sure as you want to be, but just know there is risk. So it's just we have uninstall Firefox and Chrome per user, as well as we do have the global that will do the machine-based one. All right, so diving into the script, you can see this was in fact written by Chris. I take no credit for this, so none of the responsibility as well.
None of the glory either.
Yep. And he starts off with, he's basically building a regex pattern. We know that user profiles start with something along those lines. I'm not going to even try to break down the regex, but I know the S-1 is pretty uniform. After that, where he's adding the $ signs and the D pluses, and that's Just trust Chris when he says this is the pattern that matches for the user hive. All right, and then he grabs the location, comes into that one, and then he defines if the hive is actively loaded or not. And if the hive is not loaded, he then loads that hive so he can make the changes. And right here, this is where he's grabbing loaded versus unloaded hives. What he wrote on my best day, I might be able to write that, and then I would forget it all within 10 minutes. Chris is an animal. You gotta respect a guy that good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, and so right here is where he is loading the current, or not the current user hives, but the HKey user hive, and coming into where the Firefox install string would be. As you see, we still have the WoW32 and the Microsoft ones. Those are terrible lines, but imagine those were straight. And that's the location for the uninstall per user, and then it goes through, and this is where he builds his uninstall string. And he's not following appropriate naming schemes. They don't like us to use aliases, the % for the where object. It's shame.
We finally found a way to get
I need my shame bell. Shame. That comes into, does all the removing, and then right down here is where he does also the various cleanups to remove the hooks and all the other stuff. I can't imagine where he went in to research all that, but I'm sure he didn't know that off the top of his head. All right, and then it comes out here, and this is the important part after the removal. It unloads the hive that you loaded. That's critical.
Absolutely. You can have a bad day if you don't.
Yep. And then if there was no Firefox per user installed, it lets you know. So this script, I didn't put it in our Git repository because it is something you can just download from our package library. If per user is something that you absolutely want to do, just know from line 55, the remove all traces, that's Firefox specific. You're going to want to remove that. If there are traces to remove, that's where you'll put that information in. And for the uninstall where he's finding the name, see if I can find that line up here. Lines 31, 32. He's specifying Mozilla Firefox. That's you're going to want to change that to the software. So this works for Firefox as is. It works great. If you're looking to adapt this for other software, we want to unload it for all users, logged in or not. This is a good base. Read it thoroughly. Make sure you fully understand anything in there. You don't want to just be changing that one. All right. I guess we have covered that one. Do we have any other questions, or do I just move on to the next part? Okay.
Hey, Jordan, how could I prompt the user if they want to uninstall software X, and if they click yes, proceed with the uninstall, otherwise abort and log? Sincerely, /Q.
Well, you could use, within deploy, we have we'll open up, remove the crap there. You could add a message step where it will pop up a message for the user. I think that one I don't know if there is a way in that one for it to kick off, or if that one is just say, hey, this is happening, but you can wait for the user to acknowledge. So that one, if you're not looking for input, if it's going to remove, just pop that one up there, say, hey, once this box closes, that software's gone. Once they hit OK, we'll move on within your package timeout. If you wanted to do in PowerShell, you could use Windows Forms, and you could build a box that pops up in there, and then based on if they click OK or cancel, it will report that result back in however you define it, and from that you can either cancel out the script or move on with the install. I think I've done something along those lines before. I did it with the 401k calculator.
Yeah, it's the only way to really get user input and be able to work off of that, you'd have to write that in PowerShell. Yep. The message boxes in that are timed, so if you put it 60 seconds, user has 60 seconds to click it, or it's going to time out and then keep rolling. So
yeah, you can check the wait for user to click OK, but it's still within the timeout of the package itself, not for the step. So if they wait 4 hours and you have a 4 hour 3 minute, it's probably going to time out before it finishes anyway. It's just going to start the uninstall and then close. Right? Yep. Well, luckily once the install is done, it's just not going to report back properly, but it will finish the uninstall. Yeah, so Windows Forms anymore, you do have to load the actual group, the net something. Colby, you give me words.
I'm sorry, I don't.
When we're loading the WinForms?
Yeah. What is that called?
Stumped him.
The dot. .NET objects, .NET classes.
The .NET class. You do need to. Dang it! I almost had him. I almost. You know what? Well, I appreciate having the right information to give or have Colby give. I'm still bummed I didn't stump him. Yeah,
You were so close. You were like that close.
Yes, you do need to load that class. There's lots of articles out there in there, and then you can build the message box to be whatever you want. It's pretty. You can get pretty complex with it. So from there, that's a good way with PowerShell in our product to get the pop-up. All right. So we have, from time to time, I guess we get a couple of requests on how do I remove X software or Y software. Teams we get a lot, which is, this will go into the user-based one. And I wrote down the name of the one we're looking for. So we're going to go into our script, and we're going to remove 2 of those lines because we're not looking at 3 bits of software anymore. I could keep them in there because I know they're gone from the very convenient, very convenient lab machine. Let's see, Microsoft Teams. So Teams, and then we want to add the current user program list to our search list. All right, and so this is going to basically look in the logged in user now, and then it's going to find it and remove there. So you're going to want to deploy this package as the logged in user, not as the deploy user. And unfortunately for Teams, this will get that logged in user. If you want to get all users, you have to go into that monstrous script again, and that's so. If you're just looking for logged in users, you can have this where it kicks off on a schedule, and whoever happens to be logged in, it removes it for them. Or it just, if you notice them in there, you can kind of kick it off and run it there. But there's no way to get all users without loading those hives. All right, so we got that changed. We included the other one. We're going to save that. I shouldn't need to change the package. Well, I do need to change the package. I need to, first of all, delete the step that I made, and we need to change it so it runs as logged on user, which is under the properties, not the step. Or my options. Run as, there we go. Logged on user. I did it.
Score.
And you know what, just to be safe, I'm gonna remote into URL so I am logged into that one. Oh, it saved the password for us.
Yeah, that's why I told you to use that one the other day.
Darn it.
How secure. Let me center that. Beat you to it. All right, change it to logged in user. We saved that, so now we're going to run this, and it should remove Teams from that machine for that logged on user. So let's see. Deploy once to Allen Rails. My typing is not getting better as we go along here. It might be the scotch.
It's the keyboard. It's my keyboard.
It's the keyboard. The
It's
keyboard's
Lex keyboard.
Those keys. All right, do we have any other questions while that's running, or? Okay.
Hey, pop up the screen so we can see that disappear.
You want to see remove?
Yeah, I want to see remove.
I like your confidence.
Okay, money on the table.
So,
Uh-oh.
well, it is silent because it is an MSI, so I think it's going to pop up there, but I think it still goes away. At least I assume it's MSI because I didn't change the silent parameters at all. I left it as QN.
Ooh, so let's get that bet down on the table.
It's
Dang
down.
it.
All right, so that removed it for that user. If you're having the problem with Teams where it is coming back for those users, and I wrote this down because I'm never going to. There's another installer called Teams Machine-Wide Installer. Search for that on the machine. If that's on the machine, that's what's reinstalling it. So remove that first, then remove from the user, and that way it should stay gone. But that Teams-wide, I couldn't find it myself on the machine to test it, but if that's on your machine, that's what's putting it back if you are removing it. The other one, if you can guess based on what's on the screen here, Webex.
I would never guessed that.
Luckily for Webex, this one, well, there's a couple things. I'd have here, didn't get it clear, when I have Webex meetings, and that one's an MSI with the regular uninstall parameters, and that works for me. There is one that I saw, and I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to my notes because I wasn't going to remember any of this, where it has the silent parameters of v_meet, v_ra, and v_smt. And that's the silent parameters for 3 different bits of software. I didn't see the need for that with Meetup, so if I have the wrong Webex install, then just know there are 3 bits of software that they're looking for in the other one, and each one has its own silent parameter, but it is v_ and then a code for that one to get that removed. But we can change our script just to test for Webex. It should work just fine. It is an MSI, assuming I wrote the name down. I did.
You did? Excellent.
Not where I could copy it because I'm just not that smart. Cisco Webex meetings. Yeah, so just changing this one since it is MSI, we're keeping the QN here. If it does have the /I instead of the X, we're going to swap that automatically.
You got meddings.
I got meddings. Thank you. That would have ended poorly.
You know, I wish you guys would do that when I screw up. Let me know before I run it. Save me the shame.
Well, it's because what I type is interesting.
Ow. Ow.
Sick burn.
Yeah. And this one, going back to deploy user, I didn't go in and remove the current user hive, but shouldn't impact it. You know, I'm going to go remove it just because I say shouldn't, and then why gamble? Am I right? Why gamble? I've written enough failure scripts here.
I'm ready to bet. I'm ready to bet, man.
You're ready to bet? All right, so we have that changed. So we're going to come back in. We'll deploy that one to the same machine. I got to tell you, Allen Rails, it has everything.
You know, that's the one I do most of my stuff on, so that's why it's got so much junk on there.
All right, and that one run. I'm not sure. Actually, this is one I just saw MSI. I assumed it's going to work, and I didn't run a test, so I don't know how long this was going to take. But
Did you just kick it off?
I kick it off. Yep.
Pop it up, man. Let's see.
See what happens. We'll
All right,
see.
so money. How much money, man?
I don't have that.
$1?
I don't have
bet $1?
$2. Do it. Two.
I'll bet $2 because
Okay,
my boss tells me I have to bet $2.
Do I get odds? It's $1 against 2.
He said, do it.
Oh, look at that. Webex is gone.
All right.
All right.
Got my $2. I want my $2.
$2.
All right, and then another one we've been getting a lot of questions on is Skype. Microsoft bought it. What they did is they removed that as a normal install, and they made it an AppX package, which also is why it started showing up in your environment whether you want it or not, because it is a provision package. So if you don't have something to clean up your provision packages, as people log on, it's installing it.
Can you say provision package 5 times
I
fast?
I cannot. So this one, instead of using that script, we're going to go to, and this one is also on our GitHub. It's one we wrote a while ago where basically we have a whitelist and we go through and remove it. So this one's more complex than we need, but we'll break it down quick. We're grabbing all the AppX packages. We're specifying the ones we want to keep. And then grabbing all the dependencies for those packages. So we don't want to try to remove the dependencies to make sure they keep running. And then we're coming through and we're doing the remove for all users. I don't have Skype installed on any machines to test this one. That's not because this is a script that I failed miserably on about a month and a half ago. I fixed that. It has been tested since then. But if you are doing a removal for all users on AppX, it is important to, when you're grabbing it, you want to specify the package filter type as bundle. Because after that, then and only then will the remove package for all users work. That is why I failed. That line right there is why everything fell apart last time I ran this one. But that should remove not just Skype for you, that should remove Skype for all users. If you don't remove the provision package, it's coming back. So you want to then again run that for a provision. You don't have to run that for all users. That's machine wide. Just basically say remove Skype provision package and it will no longer automatically install. All right, do we have any other questions? Okay. Yeah, I'll just real quick, we had one more bit of software. We get a lot of questions on Firefox. That we have completely built out in deploy. We have the regular uninstall in the package library and the per user one. Knowing what's in that script, it's complex, but it will remove the per user. So if you're having problems with Firefox, we should have in there everything you need to install just pre-built for you. All right. Hey, thanks for checking in. Hopefully this gives you an idea on how you can kind of get a little bit more dynamic or aggressive with your software installs. Help you get rid of and cleaned up and get rid of all the software that you don't want. I mean, everyone likes a clean environment. It saves you money and machines run better. For PDQ.com, I'm Jordan.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. Congratulations, Danny, G, and /Q, winners of PDQ swag. Send us your info at webcast@pdq.com. Thanks again for joining us. Stay safe, and we'll see you back here next week.